This is Women Driving the Industry with Cheyenne Malone.
Hi, everyone. I'm Cheyenne Malone. Welcome to Women Driving the Industry on CBT News. It's a show about showcasing the inspiring stories of women in the automotive industry. We'll take you behind the scenes and dig beyond their day-to-day in the industry. Today, we turn our focus to Christine Vinatieri-Erickson. She's the president of the South Dakota Auto Dealer Association and South Dakota Trucking Association. Welcome to the show, Christine.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure.
So, I love having you and I love having discussions with you. And I really want to talk, like I said in the lead in, about, beyond the day to day. We're quoting you on a conversation that we had earlier. If we're going to change the narrative, we have to be bold. Elaborate on that for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Just looking at women in the industry, we're few and far between, out of state auto associations and state trucking associations. We're about 20% of those state executives. To be honest, what's really fascinating to me is trucking is 30%. And so trucking is leading a little bit more in the industry as far as women executives. However, like you said, we have to be bold. I don't sit on the sidelines very well and play the victim well. I want to have a seat at the table and I want to be forward thinking in those relationships. So I don't care if you're a man or a woman or who you are, we have to be bold to hit those issues head on versus kind of dancing around them and just thinking, oh, I don't know if I belong here or not.
Walk me through your journey. How did you even get into the automotive industry?
Sure. Well, I'll start very young. I grew up in a family with three brothers, a very independent mother and father that always told us, whatever you want to do, do it. And they literally meant that. It wasn't just this fancy little saying they would say. They literally were like, chase your dreams, do what you want to do. And you will see that within my family. I have a brother that was retired lieutenant colonel, another brother that played in the NFL, another brother that has a great industry, great job in the insurance industry. And so my parents always told us, just do it. We didn't grow up with a lot. We were low to middle income. And so we had to fight for what we believed in. And so that really prepared me throughout my journey and career. I wasn't happy with politics and the way it was going. At the time, I was working for our small business and staying home with my kids. And I thought, well, if I'm going to sit on the sidelines and complain about it, that's not right. So I ran for office. Nobody knew me. Nobody knew. I wasn't involved in the political party. I wrote checks out here and there, but I really wasn't involved. And so I just did it my way. I took the advice of others, but we did door to door during the day with my kids in the wagon because that's what worked for me as a mom. We're pulled in different directions. And so you have to make it work. And so I love the political world. I know not everybody does, and it's gotten pretty divisive. But that's where I really got my spark and start through my childhood in the political world. And then, I love change. Change is hard for a lot of people, but I love being the change maker and being able to represent two amazing industries that are pretty male dominated. But I guess I just try to not see gender. I just try to prove myself and say, I'm the best person for this job. Respect me for my knowledge and who I am, and let's move forward. The political world is also pretty male dominant as well. I was one of, 17 women out of 105 legislators when I was in 12 years ago. So again, that's just all I know. And it's no different. I guess for me, you fight for being the front and you fight to be a leader.
I bet you have some stories being a woman in a male-dominated industry, of course. Any you want to share?
I do. One that's very, very interesting. When I was in the legislature, my two district mates, we were doing a coffee at a local grocery store, and a man walked up and he said to the other two, "What's she doing here?" And they said, "What are you talking about?" And they said, "Well, did she get her chores done?" And I about lost it. And my two legislative counterparts, who know I'm very strong and independent, grabbed my arm and were like, let it go, let it go. And I said, no, I'm going to address this. And
Of
I
course.
did kindly and politely. I knew I was not going to change his mind. I'm sure he rode off in the horse and buggy when he left, but it was so just mind blowing to me. And I think what the best part of it was is my two counterparts that I served in the legislature with were protective of me, but they let me handle it because they knew I could. And two, they had my back. And I think that's what was so important to me. And I think we all learned in that process of how far we have to come still. And that was 12 years ago. Now, fast forward now, and I served in, more politics and our city council and then this job. There's still more work we can do. I think that oftentimes women are viewed as maybe the support role. We're not viewed as the president or the leader or the CEO. We're viewed as support staff. I was recently at an event a couple of weeks ago out of state and it was a political event and somebody didn't get their plate of food and I got it because I wanted to help. And so I just got up and got the plate. And, the conversation at the table was very interesting to where one person said, "Oh, that's what we do as staff." And I went, excuse me, I'm not staff, which there's nothing wrong with that, but I'm the president of the association. And I just, going back to your first comment, I just boldly hit it in the head because not to embarrass him or not to make everyone awkward, but just to simply bring to the front, just because I'm a woman doesn't mean that my only role is a mom and also support staff. We can be leaders. We can lead companies, organizations. We can be elected to office. It doesn't matter, but we've got to change the mindset. And so instead of just sitting on my hands and saying nothing, I thought, I'm going to address this kindly, but I'm going to address it.
Good for you. We need more of that. Do you think?
I do. And I mean, it's always an awkward place because again, I didn't want any of these situations, to make somebody embarrassed. But I think it's so important that instead of me going home and being in my own head saying, "Oh, how am I going to change the narrative?" No, we changed the narrative by addressing it at that time. I did a radio interview not too long ago too. And the comment was, "What's a girl like you doing in trucking?" And so I knew we recorded. It wasn't live. Otherwise, I wouldn't have done it. But I responded with, "Well, I got tired of being in the kitchen." And he went, "Noted. Let's start over and re-record. My apologies." And I said, "Great." And so we just readdressed the way the question was asked and moved forward. But I think it's going to take women the ability to say, no more. I'm going to be bold. I belong here just like anyone else. And also embracing other women. Oftentimes women think we're our own competition. Like, how can I get ahead of you instead of just maybe embracing you and banding together? Instead, a lot of times people might go to a man and think that they're the ones that's going to help them get to the leadership. And I just think that we need to break those barriers down and just continue to lead and prove ourselves as I'm the best for the job.
What's the most rewarding part of your job?
Yeah, there's a lot that is super rewarding. My association had been sitting still for, a handful of years and there wasn't a lot of change. And so my 2.5 years has been really focused on modernization and bringing in more tools to our actual members and providing that value. How can we be relevant? How can we have a seat at that table? And, as you know, South Dakota was the first state to file the forward protest, and we had never done that before. And so while we lost, we filed an appeal, and we are hopeful that we'll win that next one. And so it's just taking risk and knowing that it's okay to fail once in a while, but keep fighting because in the end, the right outcome should happen.
And as we look ahead into the future, Christine, what do we expect to see and hear from you in the next 5 to 10 years? Where do you see your career going?
I love my role I'm in right now. That's very, very rewarding. I always keep my political hat not far away. I've had a handful of people talking about, what it would look like to run for mayor of Sioux Falls, what it would look like to be in a few other different political roles. And, that's all super entertaining. And I am considering some of those things, but I'm so happy in my role today and feel like representing my two industries is where I'll be for the time being anyways.
Okay, so you're saying stay tuned. There could be a presidential run in your future.
Wrong, Christy. That's Christy Nome, not Christine Vinatieri.
Awesome. Well, keep doing what you're doing and inspiring others. I mean, I've really loved learning about you, and I could sit here all day, but we are out of time for now. But thanks so much for your time.
Thank you. And thanks for highlighting this. It's so important, and, appreciate the conversation.
Absolutely. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching Women Driving the Industry with Cheyenne Malone.